Well, hello, fellow explorers. It is me, John. Joe will be joining us very shortly. He's finishing up another show, and he'll hop on when he's done. So, as you can see, today's topic is on clones and doppelgangers. Sometimes the two go hand in hand, sometimes they don't, but they're very related. So, I'm going to play a couple shorter video clips to kind of get your mind rolling on this and to wet your whistle, I guess. So, hello to everybody that's watching live right now. Thank you for joining us, Kimberly and Natalie and Julie. Let's see, who else do we got here? That's all I see so far. But yeah, let's get this rolling. This could actually be 2 episodes, but I'm going to try to roll it into one here. And let me get my screen shared here.
So what
this was taken from a Joe Rogan program, and I just want you to kind of listen to what's being talked about here.
I'm telling you is China has no rules. 20 years ago, they had cows that produced human milk. 20 years ago, they had spiders that produced body armor, spider guts. They have human-animal hybrids 30 years ago. They've got giant human tissue farms. You know, you hear, oh, your Achilles is torn. We've got a grown in a lab, a tendon. It's not a frickin' tendon grown in a lab. It's a frickin' humanoid. These aren't humans. The way they get around it is they
Wait
make
a minute.
They make
We're saying so many things. Listen, I love you to death, but you say
I bet you
so
$10
many
million
different
humanoids
things.
are real.
I believe they are, but you say so many different things without stopping. It's hard
because
for
I'm
people
reporting
to
to the
absorb.
government agency, so they'll listen and investigate. I'm decompartmentalizing.
Okay, but
this will be studied for years.
So what?
No, what I'm telling you is, Joe.
Yes.
It was in MIT Quarterly 25 years ago that they had human animal embryos, but they killed them at the embryonic level. You can pull it up. Listen to this man.
I believe
They've
this.
got humanoids.
I believe this. They've already used CRISPR to enhance children
with higher intelligence.
Yes.
I want to talk about human-animal hybrids and humanoids because, Joe, why has it got to be a humanoid?
Why?
Because if you make it a few percentage points another animal or another creature, it's a gray area. There's no human rights. You have an animal rights movement. You have a human rights movement. There's no alien movement. Right. Aliens are real. They're creating human-animal hybrids that are a new creature never here on Earth. It's alien.
This is it. Human stem cells being injected into a pig's embryo. For the first time, scientists are seeing how our cells grow and interact inside an animal.
Scientists in the United States recently tried creating the world's first human-monkey chimera. I'm going to repeat that so that it registers. American scientists injected human cells into the embryo of a monkey.
China's already doing it, announcing in April that an international team successfully grew human monkey embryos and sustained them for 20 days in a lab. The only question is, what will they do next?
US and Chinese scientists have implanted human cells into monkey embryos.
Yesterday, the Senate passed the Endless Frontier Act, a bill that commits nearly $250 billion to promote emerging technologies so that America can keep pace with Chinese innovation.
In simple terms, they created embryos that were part monkey and part human.
Chimeric research is a Pandora's box that's obviously from hell that should not be opened.
Then we create human-animal chimeras with perhaps human neurons in their brains. And that raises a lot of ethical issues because what looks like an animal may well have mental capacity similar to that of a human being.
All right, if that doesn't both excite you and creep you out at the same time, don't know what will. So I guess we have to define clones. What are clones? For the purpose of this video, we're going to be talking about a replica or a duplicate of another person, another animal, another living thing. So an exact replica. There will be some crossover in this video of human-animal hybrids and other types of hybrids. When I get into the doppelganger part of it, we're not really talking about clones, but we're talking about other individuals that exist that look exactly like you. And there's a lot of people talking about doppelgangers, especially around the time of somebody's death. There's been reports of doppelgangers showing up at funerals and or around hospitals, at the time of or near death. With children, they're often referred to as the black-eyed kids, which I'll throw up a creepy little picture here. So right now in politics, we've got the vice resident who's been on video many times with her solid black eyes. Sometimes you'll see her with normal eyes, sometimes you'll see her with solid black eyes. So is she one of these black-eyed kids? Let's read and find out what a black-eyed doppelganger really is. It says doppelgangers and black-eyed kids. Are they real? What do you believe? Doppelgangers, German or ghostly double or double walker, simply refers to a double of a living person. According to legend, these otherworldly creatures harness the ability to mirror the appearance of those they encounter. Many believe that doppelgangers are harbingers of doom. For instance, if a doppelganger was seen by a person's loved one, then the doppelganger may be a messenger of danger or ill health. However, if one sees his or her own doppelganger, it's said to be an omen of death. And that's kind of what I was referring to earlier. A doppelganger is often considered to be a shadow self that is thought to follow every living person. In instances of bilocation, a person can either spontaneously or willingly project his or her own double, known as a wraith, to a remote location. This double is identical to the real person and can interact with others just as the real person would. Several well-known people in history reported seeing their doppelgangers prior to their deaths. Some of these historic figures included Abraham Lincoln, Percy Bysshe, I'm not sure, or Percy Bysshe Shelley, Catherine the Great, Queen Elizabeth I, and Maria de Jesus de Agreda. God, I don't know if I'm pronouncing these names right. Just to name a few. Even Vice Admiral Sir George Tyrone had been seen walking through the drawing room of his Eaton Square home in London at the exact time he had gone down with his ship, HMS Victoria, after colliding with the HMS Camperdown. Another harbinger of doom is known as the Black-Eyed Kids, also known as BEKs. Their origin isn't clear, but many believe that these young ones are the spirits of lost or murdered children. Black-eyed kids are typically known to travel in pairs. Their ages range from 8 years to 18 years old. They have very pale skin and black eyes, showing no pupil or iris. When these children make their approach, they usually ask to be invited in one's car or home. Almost anyone who's had an encounter with a BEK has become overwhelmed with a sudden feeling of fear or dread. When turning these kids away, the children show aggression with the intense need to be allowed inside. Those who claim to have encountered the black-eyed kids report that the children refuse to go away until the said person either leaves the scene or closes the door on them. However, there are many reports of these encounters. There aren't any confirmations of what could happen. So you get the creepy black-eyed kids. I don't know if anybody has seen any or had any experience with them, but they seem to be the subject of a lot of Hollywood films. And there are, I guess I'm going to go back a little bit. Another thing that may get covered in this video are robotoids, which are human clone, what they call sleeves, which is like a clone of a person, so human tissue on the outside, but an actual mechanical being on the inside, sort of like a cyborg. I'm going to show you another video clip here, if I could find it, that will show the black eyes I was talking about with some of the people I was referring to earlier. I'm going to skip through this a little bit. All right. This image has been around for a long time, and as you can see, it's like a human on the outside. Whoops. Let's go back there. Mechanical on the inside. And they can make them look like whoever they want. Again, I'm going to skip through some of this here because it's kind of a long video. I just want to get to the black eyes. I should have marked this earlier, because some of these video clips that are put together are kind of put together by bored people, I guess. Come on, where is it at? There we go. You can kind of see right there. The real K kind of looks like the person on the left. The one that you've seen in the media quite a bit in the last year or so looks like the person, or whatever you want to call it, on the right. And doesn't matter what video I look at, it seems like almost every time it has solid black eyes compared to normal looking eyes. As you can see, the lips look a little different. So again, not necessarily a clone, but a body double, if you will. You have also a lot of Hollywood stars that have doppelgangers, and this comes up quite a bit. You know, you've got Mr. Nicolas Cage here with this fine gentleman from, I believe it was the 1800s. Kind of a striking resemblance there. You also have Mr. Bruce Willis with, I believe that's General MacArthur. Yeah, it's kind of a spitting image, if I don't say so myself. Who else we got here? Mr. Johnny Depp. I don't know, just kind of interesting that, and there's hundreds of those pictures. If you go Google it, what people look like or what Hollywood stars look like, you can find literally almost any popular Hollywood star. And going back to actual clones, China cloned a pair of monkeys, or cloned a monkey. So now they have a pair of monkeys. So this is technically, besides the sheep, the first known primate clone that's a living, breathing clone and has so far no genetic defects, that kind of thing. I can't remember their names. They have cute little names, of course. Because, of course, all creatures of science have cute little names. And if you remember back in 78, if you're old enough to remember, there was a movie called Boys from Brazil. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but long story short, the idea was that these Nazi scientists went to South America and they basically cloned an army of Hitlers. And they basically were trying to create another, a group of Hitlers that they could spread across the world. So, they've been talking about cloning and its potential effects for a long time. And these aren't clones, but, in the movie Matrix, you've got replications, of like Agent Smith here. And if you haven't seen it, the new Matrix movie is coming out in December, right around Christmas, called Resurrections. That ought to be good. Okay, back on subject. Now, there's pictures throughout history, of back to the doppelganger thing. People this one may be photoshopped, but I've seen many images where it looks like there's more than one of the same person, and not being a clone. Now, in more recent times, we all know who the Illuminati is, I think. I don't think I'm saying anything that isn't familiar with anybody. But apparently, they use several types of clones. The first type is real clones. This is a person who was developed in a test tube called artificial insemination in a tube, or an implanted uterus, which has the same genetic makeup as another person, an identical twin referred to in genetic terms. Genetic coding has been reproduced, and now there's a new person that is an identical twin. Then they have what's called synthetic people. These are faces that look almost real, like real people, but are imitations of people. Some extracted tissues from cattle are the starting point. This is part of the story of cattle mutilation. Sorry. The process is a breakthrough in, the process is a breakthrough in a process discovered in the late 1950s. This 1959 experiment referred to a book in 1968 titled The Biological Time Bomb by Gordon Rattray Taylor. Taylor describes the experiment in France. I'm not going to read that whole thing. I'll just go to the next slide because there's some more information here. The other type is organic robots. Organic robotoids, which are kind of like what we saw earlier, are an artificial life created through processes that are completely different from cloning or synthetics. Organic robot technology is created to make as accurate copies of important people as possible, such as presidents and some of their staff. And we've heard a lot of that, especially in the last couple of years. I'm not going to go into this video because that could be a whole video in itself as to who we suspect and who we believe might be one of these types of clones. For example, Jimmy Carter, who came to Portland a few years ago, who from 2 meters away visually was not Jimmy Carter, who had voted as president. At Easter 1979, Jimmy Carter's first robotic model replaced the man Jimmy Carter. That's why President Clinton joked without the expected security. I don't know about that one. Let's see here. I'm going to skip a couple of these real quick. Okay, and there's a show on Netflix. I don't know if any of you have watched it, but it's called Altered Carbon, and the premise is that you can live indefinitely via these organic sleeves, and you save your consciousness, your memories, that kind of thing, on basically like this chip that gets implanted into your neck, into your spine. So you technically, if something happened to your body, you can just take that that chip or whatever it is and put it into a new grown body. And that's where this section C3A is talking about how a person's memory is transferred to organic robots. I think I do have a little video of that real quick here after this. Let's forget this here. Okay, this is what I wanted to get to. Summary of 4 methods. This annex covers 4 different methods used to create human copies. These were cloning, creating synthetic copies, creating organic robots, and finding duplicate doubles. The programs for all of these methods had almost unlimited funding from the information elite, aka the Illuminati. Good evening, Summer. Good to see you. Let's see. The basic principles of creating a synthetic man were then covered. Synthetic humans have somehow been found to be superior to the robotics created. The early years of robotics were full of problems. Synthetics were people who had changed their genes to look more like a person they had to copy. Robotoids were the formation of new human-like creatures, but are actually bionic robots. Their memories were created using live brain tissue, which is a kind of programmable biological material, and programming this material as an advanced computer. In order to obtain the memory of the person being copied, a holographic image of the person's brain is taken and transferred to the robotoid. Because the robot does not work like a human, although the end result is almost identical, there are, of course, some adjustments that need to be made after the holographic image of the host is transferred to the living biological material, which will act as the brain of the robot. Now, I have a video of a former basketball player named Jalen Rose. When I saw this video, I don't know how long ago it was, a couple years ago, it blew me away that this actually got onto broadcast television. Pardon the swearing in it, but pay very close attention to what they're referring to as Jalen Rose.
Bro, watch my nigga Jalen Rose, though. Look at my nigga Jalen Rose. Tell me that ain't that's a fucking robot or some shit. That ain't no fucking human being. Look at this nigga. He didn't move, blink, or nothing. Bro, look at this shit. This nigga a robot too. They got my nigga. That's my nigga. He from my city. No, they got him too. No, this shit wicked than the bitch. I just peeped this shit watching the game in the finals. Damn.
But as you can see, there is absolutely no movement, no eye movement, no anything from whatever this is in the broadcast booth here that is claiming to be Jalen Rose. I mean, the eyes, nothing moves. And clearly this person is doing something to it, working on it. And I don't know that they knew they had a live camera. So I'm with this guy. You know, I would be upset too if I knew somebody was a robot. Now, let's see. I've got another video here. Bear with me a second. This is in no particular order, so sorry about that. This kind of goes back to what I was referring to with the Altered Carbon. If you've ever seen that show on Netflix, it's actually a pretty good show.
It's real. Hello, gentlemen, and welcome to Psychosec. Can I answer any questions? What is it all about? Well, we're a company that produces...
This is not from Altered Carbon, by the way. Just listen to what the guy is talking about.
100% organic human sleeves. You're probably wondering what's a human sleeve. Well, if you gather around, I can let you know what we do here in full details. So here at Psychosec, we've been able to achieve true immortality by taking your human consciousness and storing it on a device called a portable stack. It's implanted in the base of your neck, and it collects and stores everything that makes you you. Every memory, every emotion, every sensation, everything you've ever experienced gets stored on this little device. You can see it here on the screen that's about to come up. You guys just follow me. All the information is stored on this device and can be digitally transferred from one sleeve that you currently occupy into the sleeve of your choosing.
Sleeves are basically human bodies we grow in our labs. They're organically real. Bones, tissue, organs, everything. These are the best bodies you'll ever have. Period. Nothing can hurt these bodies, but they are human. So if something were to happen to them, you can always change them out for a new one. That's why it says immortality becomes non-existent. Because you can be 50 in one body and change to your next body. You're as young as you feel. If you come this way, David's going to show you some 2018 models that you can choose from.
Okay, you can choose which sleeve you desire. Now you can either have the sleeve that you have right now, or we have a selection of wonderful sleeves. Psychosec, fully genuine and organic produced. Now, if you'd like to be taller, shorter, skinnier, if you'd like to have better vision, maybe strengthen your body, you have the choice to choose a man or a woman's sleeve. Now, if your sleeve becomes damaged or too old for your liking, simply remove from the cortical stack your DHF, your consciousness, to another, newer sleeve.
Anyway, I think you get the concept. I think parts of that were referring to Altered Carbon. I'd named the video Altered Carbon, so I know what it was. Hello, Johnny from, was it France? Correct me if I'm wrong. Yes, Summer, they are literally playing God. So again, thanks to all that are joining and that are watching right now. I am not sure what's going on with my co-host here, but I hope you guys are getting something out of this, and let's move on. This is from Paul Mooney. He is no longer with us, but I would like you to listen to what Mr. Paul Mooney has to say.
There's more than one Obama.
Okay.
They're clones.
All right. Well, it would take a lot to do a lot of that.
And you think I'm kidding you. I'm serious.
Okay.
You when you see the clone, The clone can sing and dance. Yeah. The
And
real
you say the other one don't have
Obama, the
no
real
rhythm?
Obama, he can't sing and he can't dance. No, it's true. And whenever you see his
She just
wife
laughs like
with
Kamala.
the clone,
Uh-huh.
she is like on a bad date. She's very standoff.
Oh,
Her
she
inner
doesn't like,
kids.
she doesn't like that.
But the real Obama, they're always hugging him and close to him, kissing him, brushing the dandruff off, because he has dandruff. He really does. That's why I did that commercial for whatever that shampoo was. No, but seriously.
You know you need help.
No, but it's true. No. But you think I'm kidding. Watch them, okay? Even the little dog, the real Obama, the little dog's all up in their face. But the
I should
clone,
not be laughing at our
the
president.
clone, the little dog is barking at the clone all the time.
All right. Did you guys just hear?
Yep. There's Joe. Except not on the show. But you get the idea. There's people in Hollywood kind of even, bringing this fact to light and even joking about it. Now, number 45 has come out and said this many times, but this is probably the most famous one. And listen very closely to his words.
Joe Biden and the radical Democrats are wrecking our nation. I don't even believe it's him. I honestly don't believe. I don't think Joe knows where the hell he is. You want to know that? I don't think it's him.
He emphasizes it a couple times. I don't think it's him, referring to either a body double, clone, whatever you want to call it. Moving on. Now, I might as well throw another creepy kid, black-eyed kid in there, in case you haven't seen enough creepy black-eyed kids. Okay, let's see. Another image of, and the idea with the whole Hollywood clone thing is that some of these people may have been created without the knowledge, or the parents ever having knowledge. They may have been created from DNA, from hair strands, whatever samples they may have found somewhere. But when I went through some of these, some of them are very uncanny. Like they could have had the same mother, that kind of thing. Especially the Zoe Deschanel, or however you pronounce her name, and Katy Perry. They look kind of creepily very much alike. And Dakota Fanning and Amanda Seyfried, however you pronounce her name. And I'm not sold on the Christian Bale, Peter Facinelli. But there's, like I said, there seems to be a lot. I don't know if I can blow him up. Heath Ledger was another one that came up a lot. Russell Crowe, Bradley Cooper, Nicole Kidman. So take those for what you will. I mean, those aren't as compelling as some of the others. And here's one that is kind of compelling to me, is Amy Smart and Peter Wilson. They look eerily alike, don't you think? Let's see what else I got here. I'm trying to not make this video super long. Here we go. This talks about a little bit about the monkey clones.
Are we a step closer to human
I don't know if
clones?
you hear that.
The question has been raised after scientists in China produced two genetically identical monkeys. Zhong and Hua are the first primates to be cloned using DNA transfer.
Another kettle of fish. It would help in cases where prospective parents couldn't produce their own eggs and sperm, or if they carried a recessive genetic disease. For this reason, cloning could conceivably be seen as part of the fundamental human right to have children.
Cloning has played a role far larger than I think it's likely to play in the future of science and medicine.
We're not merely the kind of automatic readout of our genes. We should think of our genome as a kind of diary, but not a diary that has been written upon yet.
Cloning a human. What the scientists have done is created a human embryonic clone. They start by taking a human egg, take out the nucleus, And then they take a skin cell from a patient, take the skin cell and put it into this denucleated egg. The skin cell that's been transferred is sort of the software, and the egg acts like a hardware. And the hardware essentially boots up the software and creates an embryonic clone. From the embryonic clone, the scientists can derive other stem cells and go on to make heart tissue or nerve tissue or any other tissue that goes on to make a person.
Babies conceive just so their body parts can be transplanted. Come with me into the scary new world of cloning. The nightmarish stuff of science fiction has suddenly become a reality. The genie is out of the bottle, said scientists in Scotland earlier this year when they successfully cloned a sheep. And they weren't kidding. Using those same techniques, it's now possible to clone humans. What's more, there are doctors ready and able to do it. In the world we've all known, it's meant to happen something like this. Boy meets girl, they fall in love, and through that relationship they conceive a baby. But now there's a potential new way to create life, and it has many of us terrified. It's called human cloning.
Some reason
It
the
will happen.
audio is
And it will
trailing
not
off.
be done for the best reasons. It will be done for all kinds of bizarre reasons, but be in no doubt that it will be done.
I see it as just one more tool in the whole array of tools that we now have to help people have children. And I think that's a very, very important reason that cloning should be allowed.
And that opens up a whole nother can of worms, if you will. And as far as cloning goes, you've got the whole idea that you've got the one group that wants to use cloning to create body parts, whether it's for yourself. For example, if you're able to grow a heart or a lung or a kidney, at a given, like at a drop of a dime, like if you had a genetic defect and you knew your heart was gonna, at some point in your life, gonna be defective, then you can grow a new heart ahead of time, or a lung, or kidney, whatever that happens to be, skin. Like if you're burned badly in an accident. And yes, Kimberly, I do. Yeah, I believe if they can make a movie, it can be done in real life. Absolutely. So, and then you have other nefarious possibilities with cloning. You have the whole, because you can literally, all you need is the DNA of that person or that biological being that you want to clone. So you drop some hair somewhere in a bathroom or at somebody's house, you go to a party or something, and somebody decides to collect your hair, your skin, or something to that effect. And then they decide to create a clone of you, even if it's just to make it look like you're somewhere that you're not, to kind of use that and hold that over your head. So there's a whole ethical thing about cloning, longevity, immortality, whatever that looks like. And I believe that there's so much going on with cloning right now that we don't know about, as Kimberly mentioned, that it probably would blow our minds if we knew what was going on with cloning. And, especially if they had the technology and they were able to really transfer your consciousness, whatever makes you unique, your memories, your soul, as it were. Let's see, what does Johnny say here? With all these medical tests we have done, they have our DNA. Yes. And that's kind of the point I was getting to. All these sites like Ancestry and whatever that is, something 123, whatever. There's a reason why China and some of these nefarious organizations have spent all this money to collect your DNA, or have bought out companies that have your DNA. Not only could they potentially make clones, but they could also make viruses and other things target specific types of people or groups of people or a specific segment of our population. So if they wanted, to hit some people with Polish ancestry or people that had Jewish ancestry or people that had African ancestry or whatever, it would make it easier for them to do studies because they have that. And so I'm of the school that if cloning is used to benefit people in a medical sense, like kidneys, lungs, heart, skin, that kind of stuff, eyes, I'm all for that. But duplicating another person is a whole different thing. And especially when it gets into the realm of transhumanism, human animal hybrids, which they've talked about for such a long time. And they even had to pass legislation, I think it was last year, to stop human animal hybrids. So it must be an issue if you have to pass legislation for it. And so that alone is, that's kind of creepy. Now, as far as the whole doppelganger situation, I find that more interesting because even as a kid, I've always wondered, is there another one of me out there? Is there somebody else somewhere in another country or this country that looks just like me, that could take my place if need be? And I'm sure I'm not the only one that's thought that. I'm sure some of you have thought that. And it's quite clear, just even doing some cursory searches like on Google and on Brave Search and that kind of stuff, there's a lot of photographs of people meeting their doppelgangers. Like they actually have clubs and they actually have get-togethers, of people that look like each other. And some of these people, you would never know they weren't siblings. That's how closely related they look to each other, similar they look to each other. Can't speak today. So now, as far as you guys in the audience that are actually watching, I mean, do you have anything that you want to talk about as far as clones or doppelgangers, or any stories you want to share? I know Summer's got to have one. Don't you, Summer? Yes, no, maybe. So, hopefully this doesn't get abused in the future. I mean, I think we're at the cusp of this, and I think it's relatively, as far as the process being simpler, I think we're just beginning of that era. And I think it's been far more difficult up until recently, but as the easier it gets to do it, I think philosophically and morally, those boundaries are going to kind of get blurred. And, I hope they don't. I hope, just like everything else, I hope people stand up for the rights of these beings, because as you saw in that first video, that it raises a moral conundrum, because if it's not completely human and it's not completely animal, but it has human intelligence, what kind of rights does it have? Does it have rights? Is it owned by somebody? Is it an independent thinking being? So there's a lot of things to think about. And I'm one of those kind of paranoid people too, that I always think that whenever I'm going to the bathroom or I visit somebody's house, I'm leaving DNA everywhere, and I've never done one of the ancestry things. So, my DNA is not in one of those data banks. So I think with that being said, let me try. There's one other video here I want to kind of show really quick. I'm not going to play the whole thing. Well, maybe this one I will. It's a kind of a short one, so I'll play this one.
Blue out of his secret lab, one of the world's most controversial scientists shows off his creation, cloned human embryos that are genetic carbon copies of their father. Oh, my babies are doing well. Beautiful. Filmed for a TV documentary, Dr. Panagiotis Zavos implants 11 of the embryos in 4 women, one of them British, in the hope of producing the first cloned human being. The procedure is a criminal offence in the UK, but not in this undisclosed Middle Eastern country.
Oh, sorry. You know what? I just realized I'm not sharing my video. Sorry about that.
Take a look. In the eerie blue light of his secret lab, one of the world's most controversial scientists shows off his creation, cloned human embryos that are genetic carbon copies of their father.
Oh, my babies are doing well. They look beautiful.
Filmed for a TV documentary, Dr. Panagiotis Zavos implants 11 of the embryos in 4 women, one of them British, in the hope of producing the first cloned human being. The procedure is a criminal offence in the UK, but not in this undisclosed Middle Eastern country.
I think we have 3 very good embryos that could be in utero today, and that if implantation is successful as well, and the pregnancy is maintained, as we say in the US, we have a home run.
Dr. Zavos also reveals he's produced cloned embryos from 3 dead people, including Katie, who died in a car crash. He injected her DNA into a cow egg, though he hasn't implanted the animal-human hybrid. British scientists have condemned his work as reckless. Cloning of animals, such as Dolly, has shown the technique carries risks of severe congenital abnormalities.
I find it A, incredible, and B, disgusting, because he's sowing false hope to begin with. So the individuals who are involved in this experiment, and that's what it is, an experiment, may well not realise that the outcome is almost certainly going to be negative. And to put couples through that, in my opinion, is unethical.
Dr. Zavos adapted a standard cloning technique for his human patients. He first took an egg from the mother and stripped out the nucleus containing 99.9% of her DNA. He then took a skin cell from the father and extracted the genetic material. That was injected into the empty egg and given a jolt of electricity to form a cloned embryo. Within a matter of days, the embryo would have grown into a ball of 32 cells, which Dr. Zavos implanted into the mother's womb. So far, none of the attempts has led to a viable pregnancy, but this infertile Canadian doctor, who wants to remain anonymous, says the technique is his only hope of having a child.
Pretty much decided that probably I would be the first one to be cloned, but then, if it worked, then we might go on to have another child.
Despite almost universal condemnation, Dr. Zavos has vowed to continue his work. He says more than 100 patients have contacted him in the hope of having a cloned baby.
In the hopes of having a cloned baby. Anyway, this is the type of stuff that's going on. Actually, that's kind of an older video, so I can't even imagine what's going on now. But I hope you guys got something out of this. I hope you learned a little bit, or at least got your mind going in a direction it may not have been going in before. Hello, Deb. Nice to see you. So before I close this out, do any of you have any questions or anything you want to discuss about clones, or a topic you may want to discuss that's related to doppelgangers or clones? Yes, it is scary, or can be scary. Well, like I said, this is something that needs oversight, and if it continues at the pace that it's continuing, the oversight needs to happen sooner than later. So can't be messing with God's creatures, if you know what I mean. But I think that's kind of where I'm going to end this today. Thank you all for coming and watching the show. I'm not sure what the next show will be about, but if you have any suggestions, by all means, leave them in the comments of the video, or post them, send an email, that kind of thing. I'll put all the links in the email, or the video show notes. But thank you so much for being here, and I look forward to the next show. God bless all of you guys. Love you all. And don't forget to sign up and go to the Telegram channel and kind of keep up to date with things that might be going on in between episodes. So, all right. Been John Hoxton, and I will hopefully see you guys soon. Have a wonderful evening. God bless.